You're watching Round Roanoke, your source for what's happening in the Valley. I'm your host, Jason Lisk. One of the cornerstones of Roanoke's art scene has yet another full season of events coming up in 2015. On the calendar is a wide variety of performances, everything from jazz music to dance, and even unique events for the entire family. Here to tell us more is the Jefferson Center Executive Director, Cyrus Pace. Cyrus, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So, you have a lot of great performances on the calendar coming up, but before we get into that, give us a little background on the Jefferson Center and its involvement in the community and so forth.
Sure. The foundation's been around for close to 25 years. It was initially founded to save the building, the old Jefferson High School. Right. And the original purpose of that foundation was to create nonprofit leasing space. So the idea would be we would lease space to nonprofits at below market rates to make sure they have a great home for the stuff that they do, and that's panned out. We're 100% leased at this point with 21 organizations that do their work inside the building. The second phase is when Chaffin Performance Hall came online, which is our performance hall, 900 seats. And that's, of course, where we do our programming, but of course the community also uses it as a community theater, right? So the symphony will rent it, or Miss Mona's dance company will rent it. So or like, for instance, you know, whether it's Judy Collins coming through town, she might rent it for an evening and do a performance. And the third phase for Jefferson Center is when we decided to put our education programs online, including our music lab program.
Right.
You know, so Jefferson Center is a lot of different things to a lot of different people, depending on how you're a stakeholder and where you buy in. It could be that you got married there, or it could be that your daughter danced on the stage, or it could be that you work in one of the nonprofit organizations in the building. It's a lot of different things.
Yeah, very important for the community.
Thank you.
Seems like. So, you said you have a full vacancy there of 21 organizations. Tell us a little bit about what you got in there, just really quickly.
Sure. It runs the gambit, frankly, from all kinds of different services. You know, Apple Ridge Farm are there. We have Catholic Charities there. The CVC, Clean Valley Council, is there. Junior League has an office there. Local Colors has an office there. So it's a neat building too, because there are lots of executive directors from various nonprofits walking around, sort of talking with each other about good practices, talking about fundraising, talking about how to do this work well. At the same time, you might be listening to Bela Fleck warm up for his set that night at the Chaffin Performance Hall. So it's a very live building with a lot of great stuff happening inside of it, and the tenants are obviously a very, very big part of that. It's a third of the total size of the building is tenant leasing.
Great. So a lot of things happening in the community in that regard, but you have a full schedule of events coming up, and including a Grammy-winning jazz singer coming up in February.
Yeah, Kust Elling, which is February 12th. He's, you know, our jazz programming also sort of runs the gambit, everything from the highly creative and unique new things that you might be hearing out of New York City, all the way to the pendulum swinging to guys who are just exceptional at singing the American songbook. And Kust Elling would be more on that side. He sings, you know, the American songbook, Gershwin songs, Cole Porter, the standards that we think of as being so connected to jazz and the American songbook. He does those, and he does those exceptionally well in a really, really creative way. And that's on our main stage jazz programming.
Great, looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So Kust Elling in February, but you also have in March, a couple notable performances coming up.
Yeah, we have Brian Blade on March 6th, and Brian Blade in the Fellowship. Brian is I would say, the most important he's maybe not that young, but most important jazz drummer of his generation. He's probably in his 40s. He started very early playing with Wayne Shorter, and then of course other luminaries in the pop world and in the art music world, like Emmylou Harris and lots of other folks. And so his own music is based in this New Orleans Southern tradition of great gospel music, but then is also you know, based in really traditional jazz and really, really modern approaches to improvisational music.
Great. So some cool musical performances coming up, and other things happening at the Jefferson Center that everybody should be sure to check out. Keep us occupied this winter.
It's going to be great, and the website's easy, www.jeffcenter.org.
Great. Well, Cyrus, thanks for coming on the show. And
you're welcome. Thank you.
You can learn more about upcoming performances by visiting jeffcenter.org and watch for more details on Jefferson Center events, including the ones we talked about today on the Cox 9 community calendar coming up during the break. I'm Jason Lisk, and you're watching Round Roanoke, only on Cox 9.